Well, for the first time in many weeks, Dolton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together, but not at Village Hall. South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both governments.
Buckle up, because today we're diving into one of the wildest political sagas you've probably never heard of, but trust us, it's worth a ride. We're talking about Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dolton, Illinois. And if you haven't heard about her yet, you're seriously missing out. This isn't your average small-town mayor story. Oh no, this is drama, power moves, and enough controversy to fill a reality TV show. So grab your popcorn, because we're breaking down exactly how Henyard reign has turned into one of the most chaotic and controversial in recent memory.
You are a clown. We were the team to speak out against wrongdoing. Why won't you step on?
Alright, so let's set the scene. Dolton, Illinois is a small village just south of Chicago, with a population of about 20,000. Seems pretty quiet, right? You could almost imagine it being the kind of place where nothing much happens, but then comes Tiffany Henyard, a woman who ran a burger joint before stepping into politics, and since then everything has been turned upside down. Henyard was elected mayor in 2021. And from the very beginning, her leadership style has been, let's just say, unconventional. Some people might even call it tyrannical. And if you've been following the news, you might have seen the headlines calling her the Dolton dictator. Yeah, it's that kind of story. But let's back up just a little bit, because we need to talk about the latest move from Henyard that's got everyone talking.
Tonight was a special board meeting because business has not gotten done at 2 previous meetings. So that's some progress there. So this meeting was not without its fair.
Picture this: a regular village board meeting. The trustees are all gathered, ready to discuss some pretty important bills that could help stabilize Dolton's shaky financial situation. We're talking about reallocating funds, selling off some property, and trying to dig themselves out of a pretty deep hole. But just as they're about to get down to business, who walks in? None other than Mayor Henyard herself. And she's not here for small talk, no, she's here to shut it all down. Apparently Henyard's got a flair for the dramatic, because she didn't just quietly veto 1 or 2 bills. Oh no, she vetoed all of them. Every single piece of legislation the trustees were trying to pass that day was effectively blocked with one sweeping move. And get this, she reportedly told the board, "This is my town, and I will not let these bills pass without my say. The people elected me to make decisions, and I will make them whether you like it or not."
All this fingertips will allow me to come over. Now it's time for me.
Can you imagine being in that room? The trustees were stunned, and the audience, well, they were probably just a shock. You've got to admit it's a bold move, but it's also raised a whole lot of eyebrows. And not in a good way. Critics are calling Henyard's actions a direct assault on democracy, saying that she's overstepping her authority in a big way. And honestly, they might have a point. The whole point of having a village board is to make sure there are checks and balances, right? You can't just have one person running the entire show without any input from the people who were elected to represent the community. But that's exactly what Henyard seems to be doing. She's shutting down the legislative process and making sure nothing happens unless she gives it her stamping.
Dolton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and Now, if you think this is the first time Henyard has been accused of acting like a dictator, think again. This is just the latest chapter in a long series of controversies that have been swirling around her since she took office. Let's rewind a bit and talk about some of the other wild things she's been up to. First off, there's the spending. Oh boy, the spending. If you thought she was just blowing through the village's budget on boring stuff like infrastructure or public services, you'd be wrong. Henyard's critics have been accusing her of using taxpayer money to fund her own personal luxuries, and we're not talking about a few $100s here and there. No, we're talking thousands on things like luxury travel, fancy dinners, and throwing lavish parties. Henyard landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments for months. One of the most infamous examples of this came earlier this year, when it was revealed that Henyard had spent a staggering $85,000 on a single party. And no, it wasn't some kind of charity event or fundraiser for the village. This party featured her and singer Keith Wyatt and rapper Jay Holiday, and it was basically just a giant celebration for what no one's really sure. But what we do know is that it was funded by Dolton's taxpayers, and people are not happy about it. And it gets worse, according to a report from former Chicago Mayor Lightfoot, who was hired to investigate Dolton's finances. The village's general fund went from a balance of $5-6 million in 2022 to a deficit of $365 million just 2 years later. That's a pretty steep drop, and it's not hard to see why when you look at where the money's been going. Lightfoot's investigation
also revealed that Henyard had been using the village's credit card to make personal purchases at places like Amazon, Target, and Walgreens. In one particularly shocking instance, she reportedly spent $40,000 in a single day on Amazon. Yes, you heard that right, $43,000. No one, and I repeat, no one can run circles around me when it comes to public service, so you can see why people are starting to get a little fed up with all of this. But Henyard is not just blowing through the village's money. She's also been accused of using the police force as her own personal army, and we are not exaggerating when we say that there have been multiple reports from local business owners who claim that Henyard has been using the police to harass and intimidate anyone who doesn't fall in line with her demands. One business owner, Lawrence Gardner, has come forward saying that Henyard shut down his trucking company because he refused to make a $3,500 contribution to her campaign. Gardner says he made an initial donation, but when Henyard's team kept coming back asking for more, he finally drew the line. And what happened next? Gardner's business was suddenly accused of selling spirits illegally, and his license was revoked. Coincidence? Gardner doesn't think so. And he's not the only one. It's a power grab. That's it, power and money grab. There are other stories from locals who say they've been harassed by the police at Henyard's behest for simply not supporting her. One former Dolton police chief, Robert Collins, even admitted that the mayor had personally asked him to target specific people. Collins has since been fired, and now he's suing the village for wrongful termination, claiming that Henyard got rid of him because his wife was friends with her political enemies. And speaking of enemies, Henyard has no problem going after anyone who dares to criticize her. Just recently, she went on a 90-minute Facebook Live rant where she threatened to have some of her opponents arrested. That's right, arrested. Henyard didn't specify what crimes she thinks these people committed, but she made it very clear that she's not going to back down. She's even accused her political rivals of orchestrating a power and money grab, although she's yet to provide any concrete evidence to back up those claims. We talked to Tiffany Henyard's landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night hoping to get paid what she says she's owed. But wait, there's more. As if all of this wasn't enough, Henyard is also facing eviction from the home she shares with her boyfriend Cal Woods, despite the fact that the two of them reportedly pull in over $300,000 a year in salary. They haven't paid rent since August, and now their landlord Jenna Hull is trying to evict them. Hull says that not only have they stopped paying rent, but they've also changed the locks on the house in the garage, effectively locking her out of her own property. Hull's been trying to serve Henyard and Woods with eviction papers, but so far she's had no luck. The Cook County Sheriff has even tried to serve the papers at the village hall, but Henyard has been dodging them. It's a mess, and honestly, it's just one more scandal in a long list of scandals surrounding this mayor. Just here because I'm at W's end, and I fear that I'm going to go into foreclosure soon if I can't get this matter handled. And yet, despite all of this, Henyard is running for re-election. Yep, you heard that right. She recently announced her bid for a second term as mayor of Dolton, and she's confident that the voters will support her. In fact, she's predicting a landslide victory. They know the truth, she said in a statement, and I am committed and determined to continue fighting for my village for the next 4 years. But not everyone's convinced. One of her opponents in the upcoming election is trustee Jason House, who's part of a group of candidates running under the Clean House slate. He and the other trustees have been some of Henyard's most vocal critics, and they're hoping the residents of Dolton will vote for change. Orton Township tonight, as another board meeting got canceled because of a lack of a quorum, and that came after a disagreement about where to hold the meeting as trustees expressed concerns for their safety. And honestly, it's hard to blame them with all the accusations of financial mismanagement, police corruption, and personal vendettas. It's clear that Dolton is in desperate need of new leadership, but whether or not the voters will actually turn against Henyard remains to be seen. Now, let's take a look at some of the fan reactions to this whole situation. Unsurprisingly, people have a lot to say about Henyard's leadership, and the comments are, well, let's just say they're not exactly glowing. Is the only community that in order to get a business license or a liquor license you need an attorney. One viewer wrote, Henyard needs to be vetoed out of office, period. And honestly, that sentiment seems to be shared by a lot of people. It's clear that many residents are fed up with Henyard antics and are ready for a change in leadership. The constant drama, the financial mismanagement, the threats, it's all just too much for a lot of people to handle. Another viewer commented they need a federal judge to judge her, then the local judges cannot release her or throw out the verdict. That's a pretty strong reaction. but it speaks to the level of frustration people are feeling. There's a sense that Henyard has been able to get away with too much for too long, and people are ready for some accountability. I will be seeking arrest for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges. So what's next for Dolton and Mayor Henyard? Well, the election is coming up, and it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Will the voters stick with Henyard despite all the controversy, or will they choose a new direction? And what about all the legal battles she's facing between the eviction lawsuit, the FBI investigation, and the ongoing clashes with the village trustees? Henyard got a lot on her plate. One thing's for sure, though, the story isn't over yet. There's bound to be more twists and turns as we get closer to the election. And you better believe we'll be covering every step of the way. It's just getting to be redundant. And we're getting tired of coming here, not having the laws follow, not having a meeting. So what do you think? Is Henyard really as bad as her critics say, or is she being unfairly targeted by her political enemies? And do you think she stands a chance at winning re-election, or is this the beginning of the end for Dolton's supermayor? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this wild ride of a story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.